It is day three, fifth graders. Day three for draw conclusions unit. So let's get to our video and our PowerPoint. Our first slide, as usual, is our learning targets. Yesterday, Tuesday, or the first day, we worked with drawing conclusions with a picture of a weird cowboy guy. And then yesterday, we talked about drawing conclusions within a text. And the text we were looking at was talking about from the poem The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Well, today we're going to continue with that, drawing conclusions from text. And this one's going to be a little different. We're going to be more of an informational text. So today you will identify evidence in a passage. You will connect abundant text evidence to prior knowledge to draw a conclusion. You will make inferences about text based on one or two clues. And you will use academic sentence frames to discuss strategies. Now, one of the things that we've talked about is that there's generally abundant evidence, okay? Now, if you notice here, make inferences about a text based on one or two clues. So we're going to start narrowing down the amount of information the author has given you, but we're still going to be expecting you to make conclusions. Or draw conclusions. I apologize here. All right, let's review drawing conclusions. A conclusion is a decision about meaning reached by analyzing clues or evidence. A conclusion is based on abundant evidence. It is certain because all the evidence point to it. Okay, remember yesterday we talked about when we talk about mysteries, the concept of a red herring or fake evidence meant to kind of disrupt us and lead us astray. Okay, when we're working with drawing conclusions, we want to avoid looking at a different direction and looking and connecting all the dots to one conclusion. A conclusion makes sense given what the facts, okay, and the person and personal experience tell us. So it's not just looking at the facts. Oftentimes, to draw a conclusion, we have to combine it with what we already know, what we've experienced, whether it be books, movies, or real life personal experience. And authors expect readers to draw conclusions to understand ideas that are implied but not stated in the text, okay? Remember, and I've talked about this before, that the author wants the reader to meet them halfway, that it shouldn't just be the author explaining everything to the reader. Because as a reader, I think that would be, A, it would make books a lot longer, but B, it would be kind of boring in terms of if the writer just told us everything. So the author is expecting you to do some of the legwork too. All right, so let's look at today's poster, The World's Ocean. Okay, and I'm going to read this to you just because I feel I didn't read the one. Well, I guess I did read Paul Revere's Ride or whatever, but we'll read this one. Ocean water covers approximately 3/4 of the Earth. The oceans make up about 97% of the total water on Earth. Humans, animals, and plants depend on the oceans to live. During a powerful storm at sea, oil tankers can break apart. When this happens, oil spills out and forms a thick blanket on the water. Within hours, oil covers nearby plants and wildlife. The spill has polluted clean water and caused huge changes. The area won't be clean again for months or even years. Toxic waste such as chemicals and fertilizers can cause damage too. When toxic waste gets into ground, rain washes it deep into the earth. Streams in the ground carry toxic waste into creeks and rivers and finally into oceans. So what I'd like you to do right now is reread this article on the world's oceans. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look for evidence, okay? What we'd like you to do is locate and write in the evidence box some of the different things that some inferences you can make, okay? So write evidence in here, and then using this evidence, we see if you can draw a conclusion. And the conclusion would be what this article is about, okay? So, because today we're practicing reading and drawing conclusions about a text. Remember to use what you've used, and you can make inferences about the text to help you understand. So what I'd like you to do right now is to, as you go through, I would like you to pick out some evidence and fill in this right here and then come to a conclusion. So why don't you pause the video, and then in a second we're going to talk about just some of the different sentence frames that we can use. All right, fifth graders, hopefully we've taken some time and found some evidence and come to some conclusions. In just a second, we will talk about what the book says, but let's just review kind of the sentence frames that we can use when talking about drawing conclusions. The first one, after reading this text, again, I didn't fix this. After reading this text, I can conclude that blank. Okay? Clues that led me to this conclusion are blank. What are the clues? And then finally, making emphasis helps you what? Okay? So after reading this text, I can conclude that, well, that no matter where it starts out, pollution in the ocean threatens every place on the globe. Okay? Clues that led me to this conclusion are Earth's surface consists mostly of oceans, oil spills from tankers, blankets, and pollutes areas of our oceans, toxic waste such as fertilizer and chemicals wash from land into the oceans, pollution remains in the water for a long time. So those are kind of how we use those sentence frames. Now, let's look and see kind of what, and I just kind of went through them, what we kind of came up with when we talk about the evidence for our from text. And the evidence we got is that Earth's surface consists mostly of oceans, oil spilled from tankers, blankets, and pollutes areas of our ocean. Toxic waste such as fertilizer and chemicals wash from land into the ocean, and the pollution remains in the water for a long time. And the conclusion that by taking all that information, the conclusion that we can come up with is that no matter where it starts out, pollution in the ocean threatens every place on the globe. Okay? So that the ocean, because there's so much water, and because humans rely on water so much, that it affects everything. Okay? So let's just review drawing conclusions. Remember, a conclusion is a decision about meaning reached by analyzing clues or evidence. Remember that a conclusion is based on abundant evidence. It is certain because all the evidence point to it. A conclusion makes sense given what the facts and personal experience tell us. And then finally, the author expects readers to draw conclusions to understand ideas that are implied but not stated in the text. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to, as soon as we're done with the video, and I just have a little bit more to say, I'd like you to answer the questions for Unit 7, Week 1, Day 3. The 3 questions are, what kinds of texts have you read in which you had to figure out ideas that were hinted at but not stated? Do fictional stories require you to draw conclusions? Explain. And then, how does identifying and thinking about evidence in a textbook assignment help you understand it? So answer those 3 questions when we're done, okay? But finally, remember that most authors do not tell you everything. They give clues and expect readers to read between the lines to figure out some ideas. Look for clues and evidence today when you read in small groups. Make inferences about facts you read. Draw conclusions based on many pieces of evidence. All right, so that's all I got today. Don't forget to answer the questions. And hopefully we will get to those when, in a bit. Hopefully when we're done with step testing. That's all I got for you. Nice work.